Hi everyone, welcome back to a video here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady, as your host. In this video, we are going to be giving a full preview and prediction of the Dublin Club Football Championship semi-finals of 2022. The first is, of course, Kilmacud Crokes against Thomas Davis. The second is Ballyboden St against Na Fianna. I cannot wait for both of these games. And in this video, I am giving my full preview and prediction and who I think is going to make the Dublin Club Football Final of 2022. But before I give these predictions, like, subscribe, share, and comment, all that good stuff. Please help us out. Really helps us out here on the channel more than you could know. So, yeah, let's crack into these first games. So, first game we're looking at is, of course, as I mentioned, Kilmacud Crokes against Thomas Davis. So, this one is one that if you haven't watched Thomas Davis, I feel like you think it's a cut and dry. Kilmacud Crokes are coming into this with Shane Walsh, Paul Mannion, even though we're not sure how fit he is, Darren Mullen, Rory O'Carroll, Craig Diaz, Andrew McGowan. So much Dublin experience. But Thomas Davis have so much qualities that people wouldn't have seen so far. Thomas Davis only have Keane Murphy, who plays with the Dublin senior footballers. They have Adam Waddick and they have Fionn Murray, who are both Dublin under 20 stars. But apart from Keane Murphy playing with the Dublin senior footballers, Thomas Davis have pretty much had the exact same team for every game this year, from league into the championship. They know each other inside out. They know their system down to the absolute millimetre. And coming into this game against a side like Kilmacud Crokes, whose team must be completely different from the league to the championship. Very similar problem that Ballyboden Kickhams have had over the years. On paper, they've had the strongest team in the championship, yet they haven't been able to put it together a lot of times. For Kilmacud Crokes this year, they look damn good. You cannot lie, they've absolutely flown through all their games. But having seen how Thomas Davis absolutely tore Castleknock limb from limb in the quarterfinal, they just put on a defensive masterclass, keeping a forward line, which includes the likes of Ger McDermott Rowe, the likes of Kieran Kilkenny, Seamus O'Carroll. They kept that forward line to 5 points in the entire game. Kieran Kilkenny was held scoreless by Gavin Carruth, who is an exceptional defender. I think Thomas Davis are going to give Kilmacud Crokes a right game here. Who do I think is going to win? Having said all that, I do think Kilmacud Crokes are going to win, but I think Thomas Davis are being slept on here. Big time. I genuinely would not be surprised if Thomas Davis put them to the absolute pin of their collars. I'm going max 4-point win for Kilmacud Crokes. Max 4-point win. Because Thomas Davis, they make you play their game. And when you end up playing their game, they win most of the time. I mean, they beat St. Jude's by a point, having been down at halftime by 2-5 to 4 points, and they were a man down, and they fought back to win by a point. Thomas Davis were in the club final in Dublin in 2019 with a lot of the same players that are actually on show today. Adam Waddick and Fionn Murray are two footballers that I think will be on the Dublin football senior team over the next 5 years. They've got so much talent in this side, and they have a system that they know right down to the millimetre, as I said. I think why Crokes are going to win this, I think purely experience. I think Thomas Davis are going to hit them harder than Crokes have been hit so far. I think that Thomas Davis is going to hit them harder than Kula did. And I think Crokes' experience, the likes of Diaz, the likes of Rory O'Carroll, the likes of Shane Walsh, the likes of even Shane Cunningham have been around the block and some. Shane Horan, Dan O'Brien, Rory O'Carroll, as I mentioned, Andrew McGowan, Cian O'Connor, Cillian O'Shea. These are all players that have played extensively with Dublin. The experience they have been there, done that. They were in the club final against St. Jude's last year. They got that late goal to win. They're used to a team grinding them down. St. Jude's put Crokes to the absolute pin of their collars last year in the club final, and Thomas Davis beat St. Jude's this year. So to say that Thomas Davis are going to get swept away by Crokes, to me, just it will not happen. Obviously, Crokes could do it. They definitely have the forwards too, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Thomas Davis are going to give them a right good game, but I am going Crokes to win by 3 points, I'd say. 4 points, absolute max. In the other semi-final, Ballyboden St is playing Na Fianna, and by God, this is a tough one to call because Ballyboden St is, they've been there, done that in Dublin Club Football. All-Ireland Club Champions 2015. Very different squad that they had back then than the one that they have now. But crucially, they rely on a lot of the same players that they relied on back then. They still are very reliant on the Basquels. Conall Keaney is 40 years of age now, and his role in getting them past Ballantyre St. John's was crucial. Ballyboden have, I would definitely say, they've the oldest squad left in the competition. Definitely. No question about that. And what was interesting is they were playing Ballantyre St. John's. They were cruising home in the last 10 minutes and they conceded 2-1 in 7 minutes. And Ballantyre sliced the gap from 10 points to 3 points in the space of, in the blink of an eye. So, and then very similarly in the hurling, Ballyboden were cruising home and hose against Lucan Sarsfields, and Lucan hit them the next 5 points to Ballyboden's 1 to bring them right back into the game. Very similar squad. And again, they gassed when the finishing line was right in sight. Na Fianna, very similar as well against Whitehall Colmcille. They looked like they might be kind of cruising home. Then Whitehall pulled them back, get the penalty. Johnny Cooper gets sent off. And actually, I think Whitehall, there was a few minutes there where if Whitehall had a little bit more experience, we could have maybe got over the line in that game. Like, obviously, one that you stay up thinking about all night. But it's one of those things that Na Fianna were lucky to get out of that game. Whitehall absolutely could have put them to the sword, I think. And if Na Fianna do that against Bowden, Bowden will put them to the sword because Bowden absolutely have the experience. The Baskells, Conall Keeney, Warren Egan, even Ross McGarry now breaking onto the Dublin seniors. Like, they have that experience there. Michael Darren McCauley has come back into the team as well, former footballer of the year. And in my opinion, one of the most underrated footballers that we've seen, because people assume because he's not the most skillful that they kind of underrate just how effective he is. He's so effective. And him coming back in and being anywhere near 100% is a massive boost for Ballyboden St. Enda's. I mean, you cannot underwrite that, especially that Na Fianna are very strong in midfield with Michael Day getting added now from Galway and Paddy Quinn there as well. So who do I think is going to win this game? It's, in my mind, it's Na Fianna's youth against Ballyboden's experience. And which one do you think is going to get over the line? Na Fianna have had all this underage pedigree for the last few years, and they've been coming and coming and coming, but they've always fallen at the quarterfinal stage. This year, they've got past the quarterfinal stage. They made it very hard for themselves, but they have got into the semi-finals. I actually am going to go with Na Fianna. I think they have to get through at some point or another. They have too much talent to not eventually get to at least a final. So I think Ballyboden, the way that they tend to gas towards the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, I'm predicting a very tight 40 minutes where it's score for score. And then Na Fianna just put the burners on in the last 15 minutes and win it out and get into the final. That's what I think is going to happen. I could be very wrong. Could be a Ballyboden St. Enda's versus Thomas Davis final, just like it was in 2019. But I'm going for a Kilmacud Crokes versus Na Fianna final in the Dublin Club Championship of 2022. There are 3 teams, Ballyboden St. Enda's, Kilmacud Crokes and Na Fianna, are all still on for a double in Dublin this year. So massive credit to all those clubs. Kilmacud Crokes, if they complete the double this year, have done back-to-back doubles, which is, in my opinion, one of the great club achievements of all time. And you cannot underestimate winning it all in the capital in back-to-back years. That's so impressive. So that's my predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed. Who do you think is going to win these games? I'm going for a Crokes versus Na Fianna final, but I'm absolutely buzzing and cannot wait to watch both games. That's the video here, guys, on Play on GAA. Until the next one, take care.